And this brings me to, this is very challenging, what's going to come next. Did you notice?
This is life-changing.
That's a roller coaster ride. Okay, if I didn't, I just put a problem there, and now there's a challenge, and now you're more engaged than you were a minute back or 30 seconds back. Okay, if I didn't put that there, then by the end of the next minute you would have been dozing off a bit. Okay, so what I want to share next is it is challenging. Okay, I don't just use the tricks to head up. Okay. I have a very funny rule. I would like to claim it as my own because I didn't read it anywhere. I'm not saying I'm the first one either, but it's one idea per well, from not speak. Okay, one idea per line. I forgot the 3 lines part. So it's when you're writing for social media specifically. We've had this conversation with Russia, and when you're doing creative writing, it doesn't necessarily have to be that because then they're living some type of virtual reality as they're reading, some type of huge, bigger experience, and so you could use visual images and all this. In social media, 1 idea per line, 1 idea per paragraph, and then 4 lines per paragraph. Okay? If you stick to that, it will help your readers understand what you're trying to say. It will help them flow through the text, and the text will be a lot less intimidating, basically. I don't know if it applies here, but we'll try to find out. Okay. We also know that it's cunning. We're talking about the ego. Okay, so 1 idea. The ego is cunning. Okay? That it plays mind games. Notice the full stops. I could have said, we know that the ego is cunning and that it plays mind games, and then it tricks us into believing that the idea it's suggesting doesn't come from ego, but it creates ways for us to justify that our own actions are ego-free, while at the same time, I could have written that in 1 sentence. Okay? Notice the difference. It was very hard to keep up. Okay, the full stops work wonders on our psychological mind. We also know that it's cunning, that it plays games. It tricks us into believing that the idea it's suggesting doesn't come from ego. It creates ways for us to justify that our own actions are ego-free. So it's just 1 idea. I feed it to you, full stop.
Do you purposely don't use capital letters at the beginning of that 3 sentence?
I think you could notice that I'm not that consistent.
Oh, okay. I thought that it was part of the strategy or something.
It was.
Oh.
It didn't work.
Is that a distraction?
Sorry?
Personally, it's a distraction. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work because I was for a very long time, even with our design studio, I was trying to just use lowercase, basically, without anything. And sorry?
What's the point?
Because I couldn't get the point of the uppercase letters. I didn't understand why we need uppercase. Why should I spend more time clicking on the shift and all this? I mean, you might say it's common sense, and we grew up with it.
To emphasize the first step.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different subject, but part of what I love to do in life is to challenge conventions and to figure out if they have a meaning or purpose behind them, or they're just adopted and they're useless, right? And so I didn't want to take uppercases for granted, and I wanted to see if they work or not. They work fine without the uppercases,
Yeah,
but with them the reader uses less energy to understand what you're saying. Because without the uppercase, then I have to rely on noticing the dots. But with the uppercase, I could actually read faster. I could go faster, etc. Okay. And so this is another note. Let me see if I also apply it. This is subconsciously they kind of became habits. So iTunes purchased and offered everything. they cater to the general audience and to all niches as well, from the infamous to the unknown independent. iTunes even took everything CD Baby has to offer. And CD Baby is exclusively on the online, is exclusively, and I misspell a lot, I'm a bit, what's the word?
Classic.
Yes, dyslexic. I miss a lot of words, so I usually never write the B-E, I miss it all the time. Is an exclusively an online store for independent artists. They revolutionized the music industry before. So, 4 lines, 1 idea, and 1 main idea per paragraph. And that's challenging. Okay, because you have to know where to stop, where to switch to the other paragraph. The paragraphs, you notice the difference between this and this. If I tell you choose one and read it, which one would you choose?
First one.
It's the first one. This is more intimidating. If I add another line, you probably reach your tolerance level, and you wouldn't want to read that at all. So part of reading something is also knowing what to expect, and if you feel and you know that what's coming isn't challenging, then you flow. But if you feel that what's coming is intimidating, then you resist. Okay? So it has nothing to do with how long it is. A lot of the time it has nothing to do with whether it's boring or not, although it matters. Okay? But it's also all about expectations. If you expect something challenging, you would rather check your email than face that challenge. Okay? And this brings us to how people, we are all hard-coded, okay, with one thing, and it's called the away from pain rule. So whenever we're faced by 2 options, we choose the least painful. Okay? Once you understand this, you can apply it to a zillion things. I'll give you Vida at the end, and you'll try to figure out where that's used. Okay? Away from pain rule. When I said that this is challenging, notice the roller coaster. When I said that this is challenging, it is because there's another aspect that you need to do if you need to break at every 2 lines. Ideally, you need to create a hook at the end of every paragraph. If you can. That's why I said it's challenging, because a lot of times you can't. We sat and we tried to do that, Rasha and I, and we couldn't do it on every single paragraph. What it does is, just like the PS and PSS and PSSS, so the more you add and the more you use of these, the more you increase the chances of people reaching the end. So yes, you don't have to create a hook at the end of a paragraph, but it helps more readers reach the end. Is this example? Okay, so this is, for example, is this an example of a hook? Okay, one way you could create a hook is, remember the roller coaster ride, and each paragraph with a reminder of what the problem is, or with a new problem. Okay? Because then that's the climax. And then they can't stop reading here because it's painful to stop reading. That's why the roller coaster ride works. It's the away from pain rule. Stopping is more painful than going on. And so we choose what is less painful and we keep on reading. And so instead of reading uphill, we're actually reading downhill with someone kicking us in the ass. Okay? So for example, Russia wrote this, and this is part of one article, and we had to cut it in half because we didn't want to write too much in one day, and we wanted to post more. Okay, so nevertheless, it's not a challenge that the TEDxBeirut team of Titans, yes, I've taken the liberty, these are Russia's words, yes, I've taken the liberty of calling ourselves that, cannot take on. In fact, we're so thrilled with the feats that we have to accomplish in a never-diminishing time frame that things are about to get loud enough that we are approached by none other than Zikru himself. Okay? That's a problem. Did you feel it? Did you imagine that he's going to come and he's going to do something bad? We don't know what that bad thing is. Right? Would you stop here or would you read the next paragraph? Assuming this is not the next post, but there's a paragraph behind it, and it looks like this, as non-intimidating as this one. Which one's more painful? Stopping or reading?
Stop.
Hmm?
Stop.
Right. And so you read. And if you do that in every single paragraph, and you stick to one word per, one idea per line, one major idea per paragraph, and a problem or a hook at the end of the paragraph, all of your writing flows, people will reach the end. I've written notes that are like this long on the blog. You just scroll forever, and they have more readership than a lot of other much shorter notes. And this just, I'm not saying I'm strong, I'm just saying it helps support the case that the length doesn't really matter. If it's well written and if it flows well and if you can maintain this roller coaster effect within your content. And yes, you could do it on Facebook and on Twitter and all this, although they're independent tweet, but usually it's not just a tweet, it's a tweet with a link. It's a tweet about a global issue, it's a tweet about something that everybody's retweeting and talking about. And so maybe your tweet could put in a problem or trigger an issue or trigger something controversial, right? And that would be the hook. So instead of having 10 boring retweets, for example, you just put in this additional thing, and when people read it, they get triggered, and now they need to check your tweets more often to figure out how you resolve that, for example, right? Okay. Where was I? Okay, how about we move on to titles?